everyone. Welcome. My name is Lauren. Thank you for tuning into West Beach Yoga Online. Today I'll be taking you through my 45-minute Hatha Flow, the class that I normally teach on the beach. So we are going to get started on our backs today. You'll need a mat and perhaps some blocks. We're going to be doing a bit of work, doing some lunges. If you don't have them, that's okay. So coming down onto your back, I'm going to be bringing the bottoms of the feet together and just let yourself gently down. You can kind of come down onto your elbows and then slowly coming down, right down onto your back, and just let your knees fall open to the side. You can open up your arms wide in a T shape. If this doesn't feel good, this can feel kind of intense in the inner thighs and hips. Just bring your feet to the outer edges of the mat and let your knees gently fall together. So whatever option feels good for you, just take that option, and we'll take a couple minutes just to settle in. So finding a place where your body can be still, but also your mind. Without even knowing it, all day, our thoughts are racing. We're planning things, thinking of things, and it takes a conscious effort to pause those thoughts and plans for a little while and just keep your focus on a couple things. So perhaps you're doing a scan of your body, seeing how everything's feeling today. Perhaps you're even tuning into how your mind is feeling. So are you feeling calm today? Are you feeling anxious about something? So just taking a moment to be aware of that. But then also bringing your awareness to your breath. Just noticing how it goes in and out of your nose. Noticing your lungs rise and fall. You can set an intention for the class. So an intention for me is usually one word or a mantra like be still, a word like peace or grateful. And you can use that word as a tool. If you find your mind wandering throughout class, just bring it back to that word or that mantra. Let's take a nice deep breath. So you want to inhale through the nose, filling the belly, the ribs, the chest. Pause for a second and then fully exhale all the air out of your lungs, so completely empty. Let's do that 3-part breath again. Inhale, completely filling up, and then fully exhaling all your breath out. Just keep doing that breath for a few more cycles before we start to move a little bit. I read somewhere the other day that focusing on your breathing brings you back to yourself. And I think that's so true. I think sometimes we're just completely unaware of ourselves and how we're feeling, what our bodies are doing. So if you bring your awareness to your breath for a few cycles, you come back to yourself. And it's a great tool to calm you down if you're feeling overwhelmed or upset. Okay, so no matter where your legs are, if you're in reclined bound angle, if your knees are together, I'd like you to bring your knees up. And so keeping them sort of wide, I want you to bring them up towards your armpits and then lift your feet up, grabbing onto the outer edges of your feet. If this isn't accessible, you can grab onto your ankles or your calves. We're gonna move into a happy baby. So somewhere where you can just catch your legs and then just let your knees open up to the side naturally. So you can rock a little from side to side. This is what feels good for me. You can stay still and just let your knees gently fall open a little more. So we're once again just opening up the hips a little bit here. Breathing as you go. Nice, and then bringing the knees together, just hug the knees in towards the chest. You can rock from side to side a little, and then start to change the momentum. So rocking from front to back until you can come all the way up and through, and we'll come into our tabletop position. Hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips, and we'll prepare for our cat-cow sequence. On the inhale, lifting the crown of the head and the tailbone up towards the sky, opening up into cow. Letting the belly droop, the spine is arched. On the exhale, tucking chin and tailbone, rounding the spine, coming into our cat stretch. Hugging the navel in towards the spine, pushing the mat away. Inhale to open. Exhale to round. So just keep moving back and forth at your own pace with your breath between these two postures. This is really good for the health of your spine. And I want you to close down your eyes and just picture your spine moving. So maybe it's moving from the bottom up to the top. Maybe it's moving from the top down to the bottom. Or maybe it's moving from the middle out to either end. So just finishing off one more round here. And then coming back to your tabletop, shifting the weight into your right knee. We're gonna lift the left knee out to the side. So keeping that knee bent, foot is flexed. This is called fire hydrant for obvious reasons. And then we're gonna start to circle the knee. So I want you to bring it back, down into position, just grazing the mat, and then back out to the side. So we're making circles with this knee, keeping your gaze down, trying to keep your hips fairly square. You don't wanna be completely sideways here. So just breathing as you go. Again, we are warming up the hips here. Awesome. Taking one last circle, extending the left leg out, back behind you. You're gonna cross that leg over your right leg, dropping the top of the foot down. Inhale, reaching the crown of the head forward. Exhale, bringing your gaze back over to your left foot. So you're gonna feel a gentle twist in the low back here. Nice, bringing that back into position, resetting in your tabletop, shifting the weight into the left knee this time. Inhale, the right knee coming out to the side, leg is bent, foot is flexed, squeezing the glutes, and let's start to make those circles. So bringing the knee back and down and out to the side. So any speed that you'd like, breathing as you go. And taking one more here, extending that leg all the way back and bringing it over and across. Inhale, lengthening through the spine. Exhale, taking a twist. Whenever you move into a twist, whether it's seated or lying down or in this position, you always want to lengthen the spine first, and that gives it more space to move into a deeper twist. And coming back to position. Awesome. Okay, we're gonna start to move the body a little more, coming into a bit of a back bend sequence here. First moving into our plank though. So we're gonna step the right foot back and then the left. So finding our high plank position. This is an important one to know because we come into this a lot when we do our vinyasa flow throughout the sequence. So hands are into the shoulders. You're gonna think about pushing the mat away. So opening up through the shoulder blades, sending the hips right back. I always think you wanna hug your core in really tight. So clear your throat, feel your core tighten, and then keep it there. That's how tight you wanna hold it. From here, we're gonna start to seesaw a little bit. So we're gonna move forward onto the tippy toes, send the heels back. So just moving back and forth a little bit here. At any point during a high plank, you can drop your knees down. That's not a problem. So the next time you're forward onto your tippy toes, this is your position where you want to chaturanga or lower down onto your belly. So you start to bend your elbows and slowly come down onto the belly. Whew, that's work. You should feel your heart rate up a little. Breath has quickened a little, so let's take a breath here. We're going to set up for cobra. So hands are under the shoulders, tops of fingers in line with tops of the shoulders. Shoulder blades back and down, elbows tucked into the side body. Let's lengthen the lower body. So lifting that right leg up, reach it back, drop it down. Lift your left leg up, reach it back, drop it down. So we're in a nice position to take our cobra. Inhale, lifting the head, the neck, the chest. Gently pressing your hands into the mat. So you're lifting, using the muscles in your mid-back. Your hands are just there for some support. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lifting up. Maybe coming up a bit higher this time. It takes our spine some time to warm up to this idea of bending backwards. Keeping the chin tucked. Exhale, lower. Let's take that one more time. Inhale, lift. Exhale to lower. Awesome. Let's press back up into our cat stretch. So starting in your table and then rounding your spine. Maybe circling the hips a little bit here. Just getting out all those sticky spots. Awesome. Coming to stillness. Keeping that spine rounded, tucking the toes under. Leading with the belly, sending the hips up and back. So finding your downward facing dog. So settling in, finding a place that feels comfortable for you. Opening up through the shoulder blades, your head's gonna gently, naturally fall in between the arms. Maybe a slight bend in the knees so that you can really send those hips back and lengthen through the spine. You maybe want to walk the dog here, so bending one knee then the other. The first downward dog of the day, perhaps for you, it is for me, so it always takes a little bit of time to feel comfortable here. Bringing your gaze forward, bending the knees. We're going to tippy toe the feet up to the top of the mat. And just pause in your fold here. And then slowly coming up to stand, one vertebra at a time, shoulder blades back and down. And just let the breath slow a little, or reconnect with your breath. Notice how you're feeling now. Perhaps you're a little more awake, a little more warm. We're just going to pair some movement with breath. Inhale the arms up, bringing your gaze up. Exhale, swan dive down, forward fold. So chest is moving towards the thighs. Inhale to half lift. So hands come up so that as far as you can, so that your spine is nice and your back is nice and flat, crown of the head reaching forward. Exhale, fold. And dropping the hands down, inhale to high plank. Exhale, coming forward onto the tippy toes, chaturanga down onto the belly. Inhale, cobra or up dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Taking 5 full breaths here. Bending the knees, looking forward. Walk or hop your feet to the top of the mat. Inhale to flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale the arms all the way up. And palms meet at heart center. We'll run through that one more time, a little bit quicker this time. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, high plank. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or up dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Looking forward, bending the knees. Walk or hop your feet to the top of the mat. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up. Palms meet at heart center. Awesome. Just pausing here in mountain pose for a few breaths. Crown of the head reaching up towards the sky, maybe palms facing forward. Mountain pose is just a place where you feel balanced. So maybe you feel all the parts of your feet touching the ground, touching the mat. You feel stable and strong in this pose. Okay, let's practice our balance a little bit. This is such an important thing to practice. We don't often stand on one foot, so it's important to take time to practice it. We're gonna practice tree pose today. So shifting the weight into the left leg to start, you're gonna lift that right knee up to hip height, and then just press the knee out to the side. Bringing the bottom of your foot either above or below the knee. You can also just gently touch your toe down onto the mat and kind of play with that. So move it up to your ankle and then down if you feel yourself falling. And really pressing that foot hard into your leg. So you want to create some pressure there. And then we'll bring our hands together at heart center. And it helps sometimes to keep your gaze down on something stable. You can also play around with that idea, moving it a little bit, maybe up. Not today for me. Perhaps you want to reach your arms up to the sky. Awesome, and let's release. Give it a little shake. And we'll take it on the other side, shifting the weight into the right leg this time, lifting that knee to hip height, gently pressing it to the side, placing your foot wherever you're comfortable. And if you fall out of any balance pose, it's okay. That's all part of the practice. And some days we feel more balanced than others. Inhale the arms up if that feels okay. Awesome, and release. Okay, let's do a little standing sequence now. Coming to the top of the mat, you're gonna step your left foot back wide, about a leg's length. The heel of your right foot is going to be in line with the arch of the back foot. That left foot's turned in a little bit. Legs are straight, stretching the arms out, reaching forward, so sending the left hip back, hinging from the hips, right hand comes down, left arm, left hand reaches up. This is triangle pose. So you can keep your gaze forward or bring it back up to your left hand if that feels okay for the neck. Inviting your belly up towards the sky. Bring your gaze down, inhale the arms up, keeping them stretched out. You're gonna bend into that right knee, maybe widening your stance a little, coming into warrior two. Knee over ankle, pressing into the outer edge of that back foot. Gaze is over your right fingertips. Windmill the arms, coming into extended side angle. So maybe you're gently placing right elbow onto right knee, left arm reaching up alongside the ear. So you want to create a straight line from the tip of your left fingertips all the way down to your left heel. Maybe you reach down with that right fingertip, so coming a little deeper. Or maybe extending both arms out like you're holding on to a big beach ball, but staying nice and low. Lots of breath. Awesome. Inhale to come up. We're going to turn all 10 toes to face the long side of the mat, opening the arms up. Coming into star, taking a nice deep breath here. Hands coming down to the hips. Inhale, opening up through the chest. Exhale, start to fold, hinging from the hips. Maybe pausing at flat back. And then coming right down. If you need your blocks here, you can use them. So placing your hands on your blocks or the mat. And then just bring the feet nice and wide. We're gonna come into a wide-legged forward fold. So maybe testing your edge here. So using your breath to settle in and to relax the muscles. And then if you feel it, you can maybe come a little wider. Maybe crown of the head comes down to the mat. One more full breath cycle here. And then if your legs are quite wide, just heel toe them in a couple times. And we're gonna stay in the fold, but we're gonna walk our hands over to the right. So you can grab onto an ankle or your shin, and then just relax the head and the neck. So you're gonna feel more of a stretch in that left inner thigh. Walking the hands over to the left. Awesome. Coming back to center. Placing your hands on your hips, slowly coming up, pausing at flat back. We don't want to come up too fast. You can feel a little dizzy then. And coming back to your stance here. From here, we're gonna just bend into that right knee. So you wanna sit back into that right heel, so coming into a side lunge. I like to keep my hands up here. You can rest them on your knee, or you can come down nice and low into more of a Skandasana pose. We're gonna send the hips over to the left, keeping them nice and low. Sitting back into that left heel. Awesome, you can pulse a little bit here. And coming back to center. Awesome. From here, we're gonna turn the left toes to face the short side of the mat. Turn that back foot in, preparing for triangle on the other side. Stretching the arms out, reaching left, sending that right hip back. Left hand drops, right hand reaches up. Shoulders are stacked. And it's not as important to touch the mat here. So when I do that, I tend to come forward a little bit. So that's not the goal. The goal is to stay within kind of a two-dimensional space. So imagining there's panes of glass right in front and right behind you. So staying there. Inhale. Inhale to come up. Arms stay stretched, bending into that front leg. Heel toeing that back foot a little wider, coming into your warrior two. Shoulders are aligned, arms are strong. So you think about that mind-body connection. So really tuning your mind into what your body's doing. Windmill the arms, taking your extended side angle, whatever that looks like for you. Awesome. Inhale to come up. We're just going to heel toe the feet together, coming to the top of the mat. We're going to come into a bit of a resting pose before our next sequence. Inhale the arms up, exhale fold, coming into a dangling pose. So perhaps bending the knees a little bit here, letting your upper body be heavy, let your head be heavy. Maybe grabbing onto opposite elbows. Perhaps swaying from side to side. Nodding the head yes, or turning it no. Releasing the hands down to the mat, slowly coming up to stand. All right, staying at the top of the mat, we're going to step the right foot back wide. So you want to have your feet aligned almost like they're on train tracks. This is going to keep you a little more stable in your high lunge or your crescent lunge. Reaching the arms up, front knees over the ankle, slight bend in the back knee, tailbone pointing down. Ribs are contained. Inhale, on the exhale, dropping the hands down to frame the foot. Keeping that back knee lifted. So we're coming into a runner's lunge here. This is where you may want to bring your blocks into play. The higher your hands are, the more space you give your hips to come into that stretch. So it's really up to you what you want to do. We're going to stay here, but we're going to inhale. On the exhale, we're just going to drop that knee gently down. So not even really touching, just hovering, and then lift it back up. Dropping the knee down, letting the hips drop. Lift it back up. So stretching the hips here, but also warming them up, bringing some movement. Awesome. Okay, so getting rid of those blocks. And then we're gonna move our hands to the inside of our left foot. You can heel toe that foot a little bit wider. So we're preparing for lizard pose. Rolling onto the outer edge of that left foot. This might be enough for you. This isn't opening up the hip right here. You can drop that back knee down if that feels more comfortable. So option to stay here, taking a nice deep breath, head and heart are high. If this feels okay, you can come down onto your blocks or onto the mat. My hips are really tight this morning. So this is the level I'm going to stay at, and you just breathe here. Let your breath do the work. Taking one more full breath here. And just press your hands on your blocks of your mat to come up. And we're just gonna realign that foot so it's in between the hands. Curl your back toes, lift your base, ground your right hand, reach that left hand up. So we're taking an easy twist. From here, you're gonna find your side plank. So left foot comes down to meet the right, perhaps dropping that right knee down, or you can stagger your feet, you can stack them, or you can lift that left leg all the way up. Lots of breath here. And dropping down into our high plank. option to take a flow here or downward facing dog. So meeting in downward facing dog if that's where you're at. From here, inhale the right leg up. Exhale, right foot steps up in between the hands. Inhale, lift your base, finding your crescent lunge. If you use your blocks on the other side, you can move them over. Or make sure they're close by. Inhale, on the exhale, dropping the hands down to frame the foot, coming into your runner's lunge, opening up through the chest. So again, if you like your blocks, coming up a little bit higher. Inhale, on the exhale, just let that knee drop, let the hips drop. Inhale, lift. Exhale, let it drop. Taking one more here. Staying in that runner's lunge. We're gonna move that right foot, step it out to the side, opening up on, rolling onto the outer edge of that right foot. So again, preparing for our lizard pose. I like to drop the knee down. Some people like to keep it up. And then again, finding whatever level you're at today. Perhaps coming down onto your forearms or elbows. Lots of breath here. Taking one more full breath cycle. And then pressing back up, removing your blocks if you use them. Hands come to frame the foot, coming back into that runner's lunge, grounding through the left palm, reaching the right arm up, taking a twist here. And then finding your version of side plank on the other side. Lots of breath, squeezing that core tight. If you've lifted your right leg, you're going to feel this in your hip and your glutes as well, outer thigh. And dropping down into your high plank. Option to take a flow always, or just meet us in downward facing dog. Taking some breaths here. From here, we're going to drop, when you're ready, dropping the knees out wide to the outer edges of the mat, uncurling the toes, sitting the hips back over the heels, reaching the arms forward, coming into your child's pose, dropping the forehead down onto the mat. So pulling back from the hip creases here. Shoulders are relaxed. So feeling a nice lengthening in the spine. Maybe rolling your forehead from side to side. From here, you're just going to sit your hips over to one side of your heels like so, and then swing your legs around. So now you're in a seated position. Legs are extended straight. From here, you're going to bring the bottom of your left foot to your right inner thigh, sitting up nice and high on your sit bones. Right leg is extended straight, and you're going to turn it inward slightly. Right foot is flexed. Reach the arms up. Inhale. Exhale, hinging forward from the hips. You're going to reach for that foot. If you can't touch it, that's fine. You just reach for it. So you don't want to collapse through the upper body here. You want to keep your upper body active. So think about moving your chest out and over your legs. So keeping that stretch all along the back of that right hamstring. Maybe pressing a little further forward with each exhale. Inhale to come up. Left hand comes behind your back. You're going to lift up onto your left knee, pointing your right toes, sending the hips up, reaching the right arm back. So feeling a nice bend in your back here, letting your head and your neck be heavy. So this is a version of Wild Thing. Feeling a stretch all in the side body. And relaxing back down. Awesome. Let's take that on the other side. So this time your left leg is straight. Bottom of the right foot comes into left inner thigh. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, hinging forward from the hips, reaching forward. Keeping that stretch active, so thinking maybe about the crown of the head reaching forward to the top of your foot. One more full breath here. Inhale to come up. Right hand comes behind you. Lifting up onto that right knee this time. Left toes are pointed, sending the hips up. Reaching the left arm back. So really sending those hips up. You're going to feel a stretch all along the left side body. One more full breath here, and drop it down. Awesome. Okay, so we're just gonna do a little bit of core work before we bring it down for our cool down. So we're gonna come into our boat pose. So knees are bent here. Throughout boat, you wanna make sure your spine is nice and long. If you feel it rounding, just back it off a little bit. So we're gonna grab onto the backs of the legs, shoulder blades back and down. Just start to lean back and you're gonna feel your core really tighten up. That's where you wanna be. This is stage one. Stage two, you wanna lift the right foot up, then the left. And maybe you're hanging onto your legs, that's fine, or you can release them reaching forward. So we're gonna stay here for a few breaths. Always the option to straighten the legs as well, reach the arms forward. I feel like my spine starts to round here, so I'm gonna back it off. From here, we're gonna bring a little movement. Always an option to drop the feet down if it becomes too much. So you're gonna open up the arms to the sides. Inhale, exhale, twisting left. Inhale to center, exhale, twist right. You see where we're going with this? So keep going at your own pace with your breath. Lots of breath here. Breathing in your nose if you can, you get more oxygen that way. One more on the right side. Coming back to center. And relax. Nice. Okay, let's bring it all the way down onto our backs. Maybe squeezing a little more core work here, so bring it down nice and slow. Keep that core tucked in, nice and tight. Awesome. Shift a little bit. Okay, so we're gonna take our boat pose today. You can take an bridge. You can take an assisted bridge if you'd like, if you're not feeling it, and you can just place your block under your sacrum and rest there. Or you can lift those hips all the way up, clasping the hands behind the back, tucking your shoulders under your shoulder blades, so feel your chest lift a little bit. Your chest lift towards your chin. And just squeeze through the glutes here, pressing the bottoms of the feet into the mat to keep those hips lifted. Lots of breath here. And slowly come out, releasing the hands, untucking the shoulders, letting your spine come down from the top to the bottom, one vertebra at a time. And you can keep your block there if you did a assisted bridge, or you can place a block there now if you'd like. We're just gonna lift the feet up towards the ceiling. So coming into a waterfall pose. Perhaps feeling your breath responding to the cool down. So allowing yourself to take that nice deep inhale and exhale again. If plow pose is in your practice, you can move into that. So bringing your hands just to your hips for support, reaching your feet over your head. If your feet can touch, then you can relax the hands down. If you're hovering, then just keep your hands at your low back for support. You can flex the feet here. Feel that stretch all along the backs of the legs. And slowly let the hips come down. Bringing your feet wide to the outer edges of the mat, keeping the knees bent, opening up the arms in a T shape. We're going to come into a lying twist. Inhale, on the exhale, shifting the hips to the left, let your knees drop right. So however your knees like to go. Sometimes it feels better to stack the knees rather than stagger them, so just do whatever feels good for you today. Maybe turning your gaze to the left. And then just scan the body, notice any areas you're holding on to tension. And just let that go, melt into the twist. Inhale the knees to center, and we'll take it on the other side. Inhale, on the exhale, dropping the knees to the left, shifting those hips to the right. Turning your head to the right if you turned it on the other side. And inhale the knees to center. And just take one final pose or posture that your body is feeling before we move into our final resting pose, our Shavasana. So typically this is done lying on the back, legs out straight or bottoms of the feet together, like how we started our practice. Arms down along the sides, palms open up to the sky. You can also place your blocks under your knees when your legs are straight. That feels really nice. Finding a place where your body and your mind can be still. Remembering your intention or your mantra from the beginning if you set one, and if you find your mind wandering, just bring it back to that word or that phrase. option to stay where you are, or bringing some gentle movement to the body. Maybe reaching your arms up overhead. Take a full body stretch like you're just waking up. And then bringing your hands to your heart. You can come up to seated if you'd like, or stay on your back. And just remembering that feeling of staying present and coming back to yourself by focusing on your breath. And throughout your day, if you feel stressed or overwhelmed, just bring yourself back to yourself, to your breath. Thank you for practicing with me today. Namaste.